welcome to another episode of Practical IT. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at elementaryOS 0.41, which is the latest release as of November 2017. elementaryOS is very Mac-like its look and feel, but it does remain a Linux distribution underneath and still gives you access to all the software available for Linux. So let's switch over and start going through the install process. Alright, we'll bring up VirtualBox. I've already set up just the base part of the VirtualBox container. And so we'll go ahead and start the install. And we can go ahead and launch our installer. Select both of these options, install updates and install third-party drivers and whatnot. And we're erasing a disk, which is good. Continue with changes. Detected the time zone correctly. And we'll be back in a few minutes after the install has completed. All right, we can get a restart going and log into the new system. All right, first log in. And we've got a Mac looking dock down at the bottom and a bar across the top that is slightly Mac looking but resembles GNOME 2. Starting on the right hand side, we've got power. The bell is notifications, networking, which is nice. Volume, applications. That's not bad if you switch it to this view. Accessories, graphics, internet, office, which just gives you calendar, sound and video, system tools. Gonna open up our terminal right off. All right, so let's see if we can install LibreOffice. All right, well, let's do a couple other things while we're here. We're running the 4.10.0-32 kernel. It is based on Ubuntu, which makes it interesting that we can't find LibreOffice. I'll go ahead and close that, and we'll take a look at the App Center. Maybe we can find something here. Okay, so let's come into Office, and if we come down the list here, there we go. There's LibreOffice. Well, let's go back to Office. We want to install the whole thing. And I'll go ahead and put that on. Like this. It is installing a slightly older version of LibreOffice. I am currently using the 5.2 series, or actually 5.4 series on my machines, my production machines. So seeing 5.1.6 makes me wonder a little bit. But that's alright. It's still usable. And honestly, most people wouldn't really know the difference. I wouldn't really be inclined to pay too much attention to this since we've got a 6.0 release coming in early 2018. So let's see this finish up. Committing changes, finished. Go back to Office. Throw Kexi on here as well. I do wish that instead of saying free on the buttons, it would say install. That would, to me, be more logical. Other than that, I think this interface is pretty sharp looking for the application installation. here. Alright, let's go back to home and let's take a look at internet. I'm not too overwhelmed by this Epiphany browser, so let's see if we've got something a little bit more mainstream. There's Chromium, and there's Firefox. See what version of Firefox they might be installing. Doesn't seem to be an obvious way to queue up multiple pieces of software for installation. That would be something I would want to look into further. Let's take a look at the file manager while we're here. See how closely they've made this resemble the Finder from the Mac. Pretty closely. Oh yes, this is very Mac-like here, which is all right. That's not a bad thing. I use my Macs quite extensively, and having a nice Linux that looks like the Mac is a nice touch. Windows share, domain name, username. Alright. It's not bad. Alright, we're back again. We'll log in one more time. And let's see. Once this finishes loading up, let's see what we actually got installed. Anything under Office? We do in fact have LibreOffice there. Let's see if that will launch or not. Alright, that looks like your typical LibreOffice. Full screen it. Interesting that there's no minimize option here. Well, we'll go ahead and close that for the time being. Let's look at system settings. We'll set up a printer. Add printer. And it actually detected available network printers. I'll say next. Location is my office. And it's a brother HL 5370 DW 5370 DW Fumatic PostScript add, and it comes up with the notifications that added the printer and no print jobs currently. See if we look at desktop, some nice looking wallpapers. Hot corners. That's another nice feature. Interesting twist on that. Okay. Applications, security and privacy, keyboard, mouse and touchpad, network, online accounts, sharing, media. Surprised they don't have screen sharing in there. About built on 1604.2 LTS, GTK plus 3.18.9, parental control. Little scant on options here compared to many other Linux distributions I've looked at over the years. But for a beginning user, this might be the perfect middle ground for them. So let's go back to applications. Let's see if we can just take and put, we can add Kexi. We can add LibreOffice to our dock. Auto expands, multitasking view, Epiphany web browser, not bad. About, powered by WebKit. So this is going to be some sort of mixture in between where Safari and Chrome are going to be, because those are both based on WebKit. Videos. Let's look at Kexi. System tools, we got to have the terminal down here. Kexi, new, blank database. New project stored in a file. Test database. Next. Alright. We are off and creating a database. Go ahead and close that. Alright. So, we're getting to that time where I need to give you some final thoughts, or at least my initial thoughts on this to wrap up the video. Overall, I think elementaryOS is nice looking. I think they could do some improvements. I'd like to see personally, and again, this is just personal preference, I'd like to see a minimize button on each window. Again, that's kind of a minor thing. There are ways to get around that. But it has made a nice, simplistic version of Linux that is great for first-time users to get started, especially if they're migrating from the Mac to Linux. This might be a first stop between going from Mac OS and going to a more mainstream Linux desktop. This would also be a good place for parents that want to repurpose older computers for their kids to use. If it's not Windows and it doesn't expose all of the options that more mainstream Linux desktops do, this would be a great first stop for children that are, between 8 and 12, say. Just a guesstimate there. And then, if they get to the point where they're really interested in technology, they can move on to something that's a little more mainstream. But this will allow your basic web viewing. It'll allow document creation. It'll allow photography and other activities that kids might be interested in, and allow them to do it on a very nice looking Linux distribution. So on that note, I would say yes, there are some pretty great uses for elementaryOS. Myself, I would probably not use it for my own uses, just because I have been using computers for so long and consider myself at the power user level on most operating systems and surpassing that on others. But this is a good starting point, and considering that it does give you access to the terminal, there's no reason you can't go whole hog into this and customize and tweak this to what you want it to be. All right, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. This is Jeremy signing off for another episode of Practical IT. This has been episode 28. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, leave comments below, and give us a thumbs up. If you have suggestions for future videos, please leave the suggestions in the comments below, and we will hopefully be able to incorporate those into future videos. Until the next video, thank you for watching and have a great day.